What's up everyone, and welcome to this new metal video for you today. Today, we're finally ranking all of Iron Maiden's albums from worst to best. This is going to be all 17 of them. Yeah, all the way from their self-titled all the way to Senjutsu. I'm going to be ranking them in order of worst to best in my own personal opinion. Yes, opinion warning. This is not fact, this is not Fire Night, this is just one man's opinion. So if you disagree with me, have a polite conversation with me in the comment section about how I'm dreadfully wrong and how I should burn in the depths of hell for my my incorrect opinions. But yeah, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to get in and rank all of the Iron Maiden albums from worst to best. Let's do this. Before I do go into it, I do want to quickly say Iron Maiden is like my second or third favourite band of all time, so it was kind of difficult ranking all of these, especially in the middle. I know which three I like the least, and I know which 3 to 5 albums that I like the most, but everything in the middle was so difficult to rank because there were so many really good Iron Maiden albums. It got difficult, to say the least, because I do love this band, so... Anyway, let's start with number 17 and go very slowly up to the number 1 spot. So, sadly, in the last place on this list, we have Virtual Xi. Now, this is the only Iron Maiden album I think I actively dislike. And the thing is as well, every single Iron Maiden album has something redeeming about it. Even this one. This one has The Klansman, which is one of my favourite songs of all time, let alone Iron Maiden songs. The Klansman is just a really cool experimental piece. Don't Look Into the Eyes of the Stranger is a song that I've heard people praise, but I don't really care for it. Future Real is an okay song. But outside of that, the album's just full of a lot of forgettable shit, if you ask me, and it never really hit the mark for me personally. I don't really love Virtual Xi, and that's why it falls to the bottom of the list, sadly. Sorry if it's your favourite album, but there are better Iron Maiden albums than this one, let's be honest. Alright, at number 60 on the list, the second least favourite album by Iron Maiden, it has to be The Final Frontier. I'm really sorry to rate this one so low, but there are only really a couple songs that I go back to and listen to on this album nowadays. Obviously those being El Dorado, Mother of Mercy, and then The Talisman is okay. Satellite 15 it's alright. There were just a lot of alright songs on here. It doesn't, you know, commit any cardinal sins. In fact, one thing I really liked about this album in particular is that, like, so late in their career, they decide to make an album that really tests the boundaries of what they can do as a band and really rejuvenate themselves, but also like harken back to what their earlier albums sounded like as well. It's a really cool dichotomy going on in this album, but it did kind of there aren't really as many memorable songs on here, which is why it kind of falls down to number 16 on my list. Anyway, number 15. Alright, number 15 on the list, it is The X Factor. Yeah, I'm sorry to eliminate those the two X albums out off the list so early on, but it's kind of, they're not great albums, to be honest. For Iron Maiden standards, at least. Let's get that out of the way. Yeah, The X Factor, I think the thing is, the reason why it slipped so high is because of one song, Man on the Edge. I fucking love that song so much. Other standouts, by the way, are... Oh, I actually do like Lord of the Flies and Sign of the Cross. Yeah, there are a couple good ones on here, actually. 2 AM as well is a decent song as well. It's just a lot of... It's a bit like Final Frontier, where there's some good songs, but not a lot of great songs, which is why it kind of falls down on the list a bit more, sadly. But yeah, there you go, there's number 15. Now on to number 14. Now, every other album on this list I have a physical CD of, because every other album above the number 15 spot I love enough to have a physical copy of. Oh, I nearly spoilt it there. Number 14 on the list, we have Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Yeah, this is another one where there are some songs that slip into the background a bit and don't really get noticed as much, but there are also some really good ones on here. I really do love Moonchild. Can I Play With Madness is a bit repetitive, but it's still alright, I guess. The title track is also a bit meh, but The Evil That Men Do and The Prophecy, fucking excellent songs. I love those two songs so much, which is why it got so high on the list compared to the other three that I just mentioned. But yeah, also it's kind of like a spoof album, like a concept album. It's still good though. I still don't mind it, to be honest. I do like to stick this one on from time to time, just not as much as the ones above it. Speaking of the ones above it, let's move on to number 13. Now, I know I'm going to get some hate for this one, and to be honest, when I was going through this like ranking, when I was doing my marathon of listening to every Iron Maiden album in order, and when I got to the end and I realised where I'd ranked this one, I kind of shocked myself because of how much I thought how high I thought I'd rank it at the time. But now, there's a lot of albums that I like more than it, but it's The Killers. And this hurts me as well. And I'm the guy that has Iron Maiden trainers branded with the Killers album on them. If anyone should love this album the most, it's me, but it didn't even slip into the top 10, and that really shocked me. I think, looking at it now, there were just a lot of good tracks, just not a lot of great ones. The only ones that I really love are Wrathchild, Another Life, and Genghis Khan. Actually, no, Innocent Exile is okay. The Trial track is alright, it's a bit overrated. And Prodigal Son, it's alright. Twilight Zone is okay as well. But, there's a lot of good tracks, just not a lot of amazing tracks. And the thing is as well, it really shocked me when I realised this wasn't even my favourite Paul Di'Anno Iron Maiden album. Anyway, that's it, that's The Killers. On to number 12, I think, on the list. Alright, speaking of like going through my marathon, and I think I just spoiled it there, it is Matter of Life and Death. When going through and listening to Iron Maiden all the way through in my marathon to rank these albums correctly for this video, I did not expect this one to slip above Killers, let alone Seventh Son, and X Factor and Final Frontier. This one really snuck up on me. And sure, it's still not in the top 10, but I expected this to be a lot lower than it was. There are a few reasons for that. Let me read them out for you. Different World, These Colours Don't Run, The Legacy, The Greater Good of God. Oh, the reincarnation of Benjamin Breek as well. There are a lot of good tracks on here, to be honest. This one is underrated, to say the least. If you haven't given this one a try yet, or it's been a while and you don't think very highly of it, give it another go. You might be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, there you go, Matter of Life and Death. Right, next. I believe this is number 11 on the list. Right, this one is mostly this high on the list due to nostalgia, because this one often is lower on the list when it comes to Iron Maiden albums, but it's Book of the Souls, because I remember when this motherfucker came out and I was hyped as hell. This album was like, well, not my introduction to Iron Maiden, but it was definitely me falling in love with Iron Maiden was because of this album. Songs like Speed of Light, When the River Runs Deep, Empire of the Clouds, If Eternity Should Fail. There were just a lot of really iconic tracks on here for me, and really nostalgic as well. Yeah, it's just a really, really solid album if you ask me, and it's the first time Iron Maiden tried to do like a rock opera, if that makes sense, like a proper like a big expansive piece of music in an album. They'd really tried to push the boat out with this one, and I can really appreciate it. Plus, this is the album where in the background Bruce was tackling throat cancer and he won, so I feel like there's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff, like for me, and also when it comes to the band as well, that kind of pushes this one up in terms of like sentimental value for me and that. So there you go, Book of the Souls. Alrighty. Alright, now we're moving into the top 10 Iron Maiden albums. Okay, now we're getting into the really good shit. Okay, so at the number 10 spot we have Peace of Mind. So yeah, this one's ranked a tiny bit low. I realise that. This one was never an album that spoke to me as much as other people. Obviously The Trooper is great. Everyone knows The Trooper is a great song. It's a great beer as well. But outside of that, like maybe Flight of Icarus is okay. To Tame a Land is alright. Where Eagles Dare is okay. Revelations is alright. But they're just alright, most of them. A lot of them are good songs, don't get me wrong, they're well produced and shit, but they don't really jump at me, in my opinion. The only one that does, like I say, is The Trooper and then maybe Flight of Icarus. Besides that, like I say, there are a lot of good songs, but not a lot of great songs. That's the issue when it comes to ranking Iron Maiden. I warned you about this. Like, basically every album that they make is just spotless, if that makes sense. Like, it gets really difficult in the middle to rank these albums, because an album like this can fall to like the lower half and it sucks, but albums have to go somewhere, don't they? One album has to fall at the 10th spot, and it's sad that it has to be this one, but yeah. Right, moving into number 9. Alright, now in the number 9 spot on my list we have No Prayer for the Dying. Now, I'm as shocked as you are that this one slipped above The Killers and Peace of Mind and Book of the Souls, but my fucking god, there are some good ones on here that I did not expect that would jump out as much as they did. Mother Russia is an excellent song. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, not a good one. That's the only song on here that I don't really love all that much, because it's just a bit, I mean, it's a great drinking game song, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. I do like Hooks in You, and Tail Gunner is good, Holy Smoke is excellent, and No Prayer for the Dying. I love No Prayer for the Dying. No Prayer for the Dying is probably one of my favourite songs of all time, and amazing song, and a really good album if you ask me. I did not expect to rank this so high, but I think it deserves the 9th spot on my list. But yeah, there you go, that's number 9. Right, moving on to number 8. And finally, we have their latest album, Senjutsu, coming at number 8. This one surprised me a lot. I mean, I was hyped for it, so I'm glad that it lived up to the hype. That's one thing that I'm just jumping with joy about, because I mean, Book of the Souls was good, but this was great. I didn't expect this to beat Book of Souls, but it did for me. There were just some excellent tracks on here that I just love to bits. And considering it's still quite fresh in the audience's eye, I feel like people still just overlook it and would rank it a bit lower than it deserves. The title track is amazing. Stratago is fucking excellent. Writing on the Wall, chef kiss. Time Machine is pretty good. Days of Future Past is excellent. Lost in a Lost World, man. That's a great song. Hell on Earth is such a cool closer to the album. It's just a really good album, man. I don't know what else to say. Go listen to it. Give it another try. If you don't think it's as good as it is, please give it another go. It deserves it. It's really good. It's a really good album. Now moving on to one of the best comeback albums of any metal band of all time. Brave New World. Brave New World. Okay, 5 years ago, I'd put this way down at like the bottom of my list, like behind fucking Book of Souls, behind Final Frontier, and I know, I was a madman. And then when I listened to it more recently, like last year or so, I realised, holy fucking shit, this album is chocker stacked with amazing songs. Obviously Wicker Man. Yeah, we all know Wicker Man's great, by the way, guys. But let's talk about the unsung heroes of this album. Blood Brothers. What a fucking beautiful power ballad. I love Blood Brothers. The Nomad is pretty good. The Mercenary is excellent. Same with Fallen Angel. Dream of Mirrors is pretty damn excellent. And The Silent Planet. There were just a lot of really good, just standout songs on here, if you ask me. Oh, and the title track as well is good as well, Brave New World. It's just an excellent album. It's such a... It's so good. It's such a good comeback album as well. They went from doing Virtual Xi to this. What a fucking glow up, if you ask me. This is an excellent album. Alright, and I bet everybody is shocked to see this album slip so high up the list. It is. They're self-titled. I can't tell you why I love this album so much. I think there were just so many songs on here that I just snuck up on me and I realised, holy shit, this song's good. And holy shit, this one's also really good. There were just a lot of songs on here that snuck up on me and I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. Prowler is one of my favourite Iron Maiden songs, so that helps. Sanctuary is excellent. Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Transylvania, Charlotte the Harlot, and obviously Iron Maiden, the title track. That was a bloody voice crack there. Remember Tomorrow. Oh, I forgot about that one. There were just so many good tracks on here. I completely forgot about Remember Tomorrow. Holy fuck. Alright, well, yeah. Excellent. Excellent song. Excellent song, excellent album. Excellent songs in said album. This is an amazing first outing for Iron Maiden, and this doesn't get enough praise if you ask me. There are just so many good songs on here. I've sung its praises enough now. Let's move on to the top 5. Ooh, here we go. Now, this top 5 list, there's only one here, or maybe two. I think there's only one here that's like a very controversial pick, and that's not this one, it's the next one. So be warned, get your rage comments ready. But this one, Powerslave. Yeah, I know, it's a bit low. It's a bit low, and I agree. I expected this one to be top 3, top 2 of my list, but it's just slipped down to 5. But still amazing. Every song on this album is an absolute fucking belter. 2 Minutes to Midnight, Aces High, Lucifer's Words, Flash of the Blade was my first Iron Maiden song I had ever heard, and I'm so partial to it. The Duets is brilliant, Back in the Village, the title track, and Ram the Ancient Mariner. I just titled all of the fucking songs on here. Yeah, it goes without saying, this one is a classic for a reason. This is a lot of people's favourite Iron Maiden albums, and it's not difficult to see why. There are so many good ones. And the artwork, for one. I haven't really mentioned anything about the artwork on any of the albums prior, but this is one of my favourite artwork designs for their albums. But yeah, there you go. That's it. I love Powerslave. It is such a good one. It's so well deserving of being in people's like #1 favourite album by Iron Maiden or in general. It really deserves it. It deserves all the praise it gets, to be honest. Alright, here we go. Here's the controversial prick. Prick? Yeah, I guess I'm the controversial prick for putting this controversial pick on this list. This high up, at very least. I'm sorry. It's happening. It's happening. Yeah, down to death. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm repentant, I swear. Yeah, I don't know why I love this album this much, but it slipped above Powerslave, and that's how I know that this is a controversial pick. But I love this album. Yes, let's just ignore the album art. By the way, I'm aware the album art sucks. But the songs in here, I fucking love, man. I don't know what to tell you. There are just so many tracks on here that I love. Rainmaker is one of my favourite songs of all time. Gates of Tomorrow has such a cool fucking opening riff. No More Lies is fucking brilliant. Wildest Dreams is the best opener, I believe, on any Iron Maiden album. Actually, no, I forgot about Prowler. One of the best opening songs of any Iron Maiden album. Face in the Sand is excellent. Passchendaele, oh my god, there's so many good songs on here. Obviously the title track is excellent. Journeyman. This is where it's at for modern Iron Maiden. I love this album so much. Anyway, I'm sorry that this is so controversial, but if you're watching this and you also love this album, mad respect to you. You're a brave soul. Anyway, that's it for this album. Let's move on to number 3. Now, this top 3 was so painstakingly difficult. The top 5 was difficult, but the top 3, man, these top 3 albums always switch around for me as to which one is my favourite. Usually number 1 stays the same. There might be a clue right behind me as to what it is, but I won't give away. But let's just ignore that. So, number 3 on the list we have Somewhere in Time. Yeah, this one is really good. I know that a few years ago this got a bit too much hate because of like the synths being introduced into Iron Maiden, and people didn't really like synths in metal and that, and so people kind of gave it a lot of shit. By the way, best album art. Best album cover art of any Iron Maiden album. This is the coolest looking design. The cyborg Eddie, the futuristic like streets and all that shit. There are so many good tracks on here, man. There is not a bad song on this entire fucking album. It's just flawless all the way through. Just a flawless listen. Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years. One of my favourite songs of all time. I mean, I've said that about a lot of songs, like on this list, you know, just earlier. But Wasted Years, man. Excellent stuff. Sea of Madness, Heaven Can't Wait. Heaven Can Wait. My apologies. Loneliness and Long Distance Runner, Stranger in a Strange Land. Yes, I love Stranger in a Strange Land. And Deja Vu. Alexander the Great is... There's so many... They're all good. There's so many good tracks on here. There is not a skip in this whole thing. Literally flawless. 10 out of 10 album. This top 3 is literally all 10 out of 10 albums. There is not a bad track on any of these albums coming up here, including this one. Right, number 2 on the list. Now, if you've been paying attention as to what 2 albums we have left to talk about in this list video, then you're probably twitching your thumbs as to which one I put in number 2 and which one I put in number 1. But those of you who know me well enough, or those who have a keen eye as to what's in the background behind me right now, will know as to what my number 1 is and what my number 2 will be. Mind you, actually, the number 1 and number 2 I've got a shirt of, and then I've got a flag of behind me. I didn't even... That was accidental, by the way. But my number 2, it has to be Number of the Beast. Yeah, it was so difficult to choose whether this was my favourite Iron Maiden album or it was Fear of the Dark. And I'm afraid Fear of the Dark is my favourite, but I'll talk about Fear of the Dark in a second. Let's talk about this beautiful album first, because this one, for the longest time, or not for the longest time, for a little while, this was like my favourite, like consistently, because of like how many good tracks there are on here. Children of the Damned is underrated as hell. Like Children of the Damned is probably my favourite on the album, though Number of the Beast is obviously a great track as well. Invaders is excellent as well. The Prisoner is great. 22 Acacia Avenue, underrated. That album, 22 Acacia Avenue doesn't get talked about enough on this album, if you ask me. Same with Total Eclipse and Gangland. Gangland especially, what the fuck? Yeah, there are so many good tracks. And obviously Hallowed Be Thy Name needs no introduction. Same with Run to the Hills. It's just a fucking brilliant album. It's just so fucking good start to finish. Not a single skip on here. A fucking 10 out of 10 album. It's beautiful. It's absolutely excellent. And the cover art is iconic. There you go. Number of the Beast. Excellent fucking album. Anyway, number 1. Obviously, we all know by now, Fear of the Dark. Fear of the Dark also has my favourite album art. Maybe my second favourite, actually. I forgot about Somewhere in Time. This usually is my favourite Iron Maiden album. Like, if someone asks me, hey Zach, what's your favourite Iron Maiden album? I usually just say this because it's easier, but I genuinely think it is my favourite. Just because of, first of all, it's a long album, and yet all of the songs are excellent in my opinion. Obviously, let's go through the standouts. Obviously, Be Quick or Be Dead is brilliant. From Here to Eternity. Afraid to Shoot Strangers is so underrated. Afraid to Shoot Strangers has to be like my favourite Iron Maiden song. Probably. Either that or No Prayer for the Dying. But yeah, brilliant. Fear is the Key is fucking brilliant. The Fugitive as well. Oh my god. The Apparition is brilliant. Judas Be My Guide is great. And Fear of the Dark. There are just so many good tracks on here, and the ones I didn't mention, Chains of Misery is underrated, Wasting Love is also underrated, Childhood End is good, Weekend Warrior is good as well. It's probably the weakest on the album, but I still enjoy it, which is why this album slips to the top of the list, because of how many songs it offers, and also how good each song is in said album. But yeah, oh my god, this album's great. I think I'm at peace knowing that this is my definitive favourite Iron Maiden album. Until I change my mind tomorrow and think, actually, you know what? I think Somewhere in Time is my favourite album, which could very well happen because Somewhere in Time is a great album too. Yeah, I'm sorry that this list may not have been what your opinion may have been exactly, but I tried my best. But I did also want to be honest and open and just be truthful to myself, because otherwise, you know, it's not my top 10, is it? So, yeah. But there you go. That's my ranking every Iron Maiden album from worst to best. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you rank the Iron Maiden albums in the comment section below, and tell me how wrong I am as well if you like. I'm open to any discussion as to where I should have put Somewhere in Time or Brave New World or Final Frontier or something. But yeah, there you go. That's my Iron Maiden albums ranked. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.